Hello, I am the Grin, and joining me tonight is the lovely
Amadi.
Welcome back to our podcast, a place where we do not shy away from the gruesome details, where some things may be triggering and hard to hear. Listener discretion is advised, so get yourself in the right space of mind and let's talk about dark shit. Okay, it's been a minute. If you guys couldn't have
Just a
tell,
minute. Just a minute.
it's
That's
just a
it.
quick minute.
Yeah.
But we're back. Hopefully on a more regular basis now, but fingers crossed. And
We're
yeah,
crossing to hopefully upload every Thursday, I'm hoping.
hopefully. But yeah,
Crossing fingers.
cross your fingers and keep us in your thoughts.
Yes.
Okay, so today's case, I wanted to go over or still discuss something that we were talking about a few weeks ago. This was meant to be talked about, I think, like right after Amadi talked about her last case. The one about the
Cindy Bird.
Cindy Bird. That's her name.
Stepmother.
Yes,
Evil
stepmom.
stepmothers.
Yes, because at the end of that episode, I think we were talking about like mothers and what drives them to commit murder against like children, specifically like their children. So I want to talk about something along those lines. This one more specific to mother and actual child, because Cindy Bird was a stepmother to the kid that she tortured, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones that were hurt were only stepchildren.
Yeah, because she never hurt her own child.
That we know of, no.
That we know of. Okay. So today we're actually going to Eugene, Oregon, and we'll be taking a look at the Mcnaulty family, specifically Angela Mcnaulty, who is a caring, in quotes, mother of three. And she is somebody who was a stay at home mom while her husband Richard was always out working. I guess he used to drive trailers, so he would or trucks, so he would always be out and just wouldn't be really be present at home. Richard was gone for long periods of time, and Angela honestly did not care because he earned good money, and that's like a big plus for her. On the outside, Angela seemed like a loving mother, but she would only show this love to her two younger kids. But to her eldest child, 14-year-old Jeanette, she was anything but loving. For years, Angela dedicated herself to torturing Jeanette. Her methods included having Jeanette do uncomfortable positions, like standing on one leg with her hands above her head for hours, and restricting food and water. Sometimes this would start when she got up in the morning, and if she was quote unquote good, she would get a break later in the day. Otherwise, Angela would get violent with her daughter. Now, going back to the food and water. Yes,
Real quickly, what's the age difference between the eldest and the youngest?
the
Or
two.
actually the oldest and the younger two?
So Jeanette is 14, but the two younger kids are, I believe one was 10 and then the other one was 6. So there's some difference there.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but do they all have the same father?
Yes and no. So the two girls did, but the boy didn't.
Oh.
And yes, it's two older girls, and then the boy was the youngest.
Never mind. I was thinking of like maybe the oldest, the one that she is mean to, had a different father. So that's the reason, she was meaner to her than the others.
So this is when we might ask more questions and receive little answers, unfortunately. I'll just rip that band-aid off. But yes, now going back to the food and water. Jeanette would be restricted from food depending on if Angela thought she was being quote unquote bad. But if she was good, in quotes, she would only be given small portions. Jeanette was not allowed to sit with the family during meals or eat at the same time with them.
That is so mean, especially being 14 years old when you're still, everything is changing. Yeah, that changing happens like middle school, but she's still young. And
She,
that's messed up to
she's
do that to
still a little
her.
girl. Angela went as far as removing the knobs off some of the faucets or locking them so Jeanette wouldn't get any water. If Jeanette was really thirsty, then she would go and drink out of the dog's bowl or from the toilet. The refrigerator would be locked alongside other places where food was kept, and only Angela had keys.
So does that mean that anytime like the younger ones wanted something to drink or something, she would immediately cater to them?
Yes, she would cater to them, but not to Jeanette. Angela would also use Jeanette's fear to her advantage by making her keep the abuse a secret. Kids during gym class had noticed that Jeanette had many bruises on her body, but Jeanette, in fear of what would happen, the consequences, didn't tell anybody about the abuse. Instead, her response to the bruises were that she had fallen or had an accident. Many were starting to notice that it got to the point that the authorities had to be involved. Child Protective Services were called and paid a visit to the Mcnaulty house and organized a meeting to check on Jeanette. But all this backfires when Angela decides to switch Jeanette to homeschool. Now, Jeanette was at home the whole day, and she basically lost her safe haven because Jeanette was the type of little girl who would stay in the library for as long as she could until it was time to like go home, and she would go to school early because school was her, again, her safe haven. She could escape the abuse. Now Angela had free reign to torture this little girl.
That is so sad. There are so many child abuse cases that are just like that, that they get, noticed of marks on their body or malnourished, and then they get taken out of the school.
And then nothing gets done after that.
Yeah. Nobody,
Yes.
you know what? They need to start checking on these people that all of a sudden do that there was remarks of, something's going on. Like, what's wrong with the kid? Why does the kid not want to go home? That's weird.
Why does the kid not want to go home? Why is there bruises on this kid? Why? Yeah, there's something wrong. So somebody should probably take a look at it. But I don't know. I don't work for like that kind of, I guess, department service of people who actually child support, or not child support, child protective.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't. If somebody does, please explain us how that works. Because in this case, they were called, they did a home check, but then she pulled the child out of the school and decided to homeschool her. But wouldn't you guys still continue checking on the kid regardless? Is my big question.
It sounds like something you should do. Like, it
Yes.
should be something already done.
Yes. The abuse continued. Angela would turn up the TV volume so no one could hear Jeanette's screams, and she had Jeanette lay on cardboard so she wouldn't stain the rug with her blood. Angela had whipped her daughter so much that there was no skin or flesh on her hips, and the bone was exposed.
Oh my God, this poor girl. That is horrible.
Yeah, nonstop just beating with a belt was one of her methods. On December 9th, 2009, Jeanette's body gives out on her. When Angela discovers her, she calls 911 frantically, explaining that her daughter had had a quote accident. When paramedics arrived, they could not believe that this little girl was 15 because of her frail body. Her cause of death was determined to be bleeding from the head, but she also had a septic shock. She was dehydrated and she was malnourished.
How old do they think she looked like with the malnourishment?
One of the paramedics who discovered her said that he thought that this was like a little 10-year-old, maybe possibly 8, because she weighed and hit what he estimated was like 50 pounds, maybe even less.
That is so sad.
Angela turns on her husband immediately when they discover that this little girl was being abused. She turned on Richard Mcnulty, and when police tell Richard about this, he begins to talk, telling the authorities everything that Angela had done to her daughter. Now, Richard is no saint here.
I
He
was
is
about to
no
say,
angel. Richard, although never once claimed to have laid a hand on Jeanette, he knew about everything. He knew about the abuse. He could hear the cries. He knew that she was being starved, and he did nothing. They later talked to the kids, and the kids were afraid that if she is doing this to her, I'm scared she was going to do this to me. So kids wouldn't do anything. They would just look the other way whenever they would hear Angela abuse Jeanette.
plus they were younger. They're littler, so they have more fear in them.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't recall, did you say that the father was
The
home
father,
every day
the father,
or the
oh,
weekends?
the stepfather, because Richard was not her actual father. But yes, he was home on certain days because he would take long days off because he was a driver and just wouldn't be home. And those long days, I mean, the abuse would continue. But even when he was there, Angela wouldn't stop. He knew about everything and just didn't say a word, nor did he help this little girl. So, yes, not only did Richard's testimony help bring Angela to justice, but it also proved that he was a silent accomplice. He knew exactly what was happening to this little girl and did nothing to stop it. He pleaded guilty to murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison.
So just because he didn't say anything and he was an accomplice, it wasn't, I don't know what the terms are, but he was straight just admitted to murder.
Well, he knew about everything that was going on.
I feel like it'd be considered something else, but no.
To me, it's an accomplice. Like, you know exactly what was happening. You did nothing.
How many years did she get?
In February 2011, Angela Mcnaulty is found guilty and is sentenced to death in the state of Oregon. However, we're going to jump in time to 2015 when the Oregon State Legislature approved and Governor at the time, Kate Brown, signed into law SB 1013, which significantly reduced the scope of the state's death penalty statute. The new law limited capital murder to cases involving acts of terrorism in which 2 or more people are killed, premeditated murders of children aged 13 or younger, prison murders committed by those already incarcerated for aggravated murder, and premeditated murder of police and correctional officers. The law applied to all new capital trials, including McNulty's retrial, because she fought for a retrial. And on July 29th of that year, prosecutors and McNulty met to finalize a plea deal for life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, the maximum sentence allowed for her crime under the new law. So, yes, Angela was taken out of the death penalty and was instead sentenced to life.
You know what? I'm actually really shocked because I did forget what year you said this all happened. But when you were saying that it was originally death and then it got changed, I was like, it's going to be 2000, isn't it? It's going to be 2000. Because was it 2000 or was it 2020 that everybody started getting off of death? Or
It was between the 2010s and 2020
is that what it was?
that I
Remember,
recall. Because
there
I
was
know
a few cases where a lot of them got switched over from put sentence to death to life.
I just feel like in that, between those years,
I think it was 2020, actually.
was it 2020?
I want to say it was 2020.
I thought it was anywhere between 2010 and 2020. Because there was another case that I think I talked about too, where they switched from death to life.
I did the same thing. It was with Scott Peterson.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Well, with that one's like really like iffy. That one I kind of Like,
You don't think you did it,
I
huh?
don't think so. Honestly, no. It's hard for me because you, not you specifically, Amadi, but you, like the court, did not present all the actual evidence. You guys restricted evidence. You guys blocked evidence. What is that? If you know that this man is actually guilty, present it all.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
So I can't in good heart just say, no, sentence that man to death if you're not going to present all the evidence. That's my take on that. Back to Angela. Yes, this woman was originally sentenced to death and then was switched to life imprisonment, which is where she is still at. There's a lot of questions to this case. First, I forgot to brush over it a little bit, but I was going to talk about Angela's upbringing. So,
I was going to ask about that. If she had any
yeah,
things going on.
Angela had two siblings, excuse me. And no, Angela was experienced no abuse from her mother. In fact, she was the apple of her mother's eye. And her mother was very loving. However, sometime at the age of 11, 12, Angela's mother dies. She is killed. And the case has never been solved. And when her mother dies, her father becomes the full custody parent, or her father receives full custody. And then that's when the abuse begins. She learned to starve people because she was starved herself by her father, her and her brothers. They were restricted from food, water. They were hit constantly with a belt specifically. And however, that doesn't, it still doesn't answer things for me. I still have questions because the abuse was shown for all three of the children, Angela included. In this case, Angela only showed the abuse towards her eldest daughter and not towards her other children.
So I'm thinking a couple things. Could it be that maybe when it was started happening to her when she was younger, that she felt bad for her younger? Was she the oldest?
No, Angela was not the oldest.
Oh,
Angela was the youngest.
oh, damn. Okay, that threw out what I was thinking. Like maybe she felt bad for the other siblings that
Because
they
she
don't
was younger.
deserve it. Yeah,
Oh, because she was probably older when it happened to her.
yeah.
And
That's what I was thinking. That she
oh,
was the eldest. Another thing I'm thinking about is, does her daughter look like her?
no, all her kids.
Because
No.
I've heard of other cases where the mother, mainly the mother, like when she was younger, she was abused. And then she got older, she had her own kids, and she abuses her own kid too. But that's because she would abuse the one who looks like her or more similar to her because it reminds her of her abuse when she was younger. And it's just natural to them, I guess, in a way, for them to also get the same punishment the mother or they had when they were younger.
Interesting, but no. In my opinion, I don't think Jeanette looks like Angela. I'll post the pictures on Instagram, so make sure you guys are following us there. But in my opinion, I don't think Jeanette looks like Angela.
You know what? Just throw everything I said away. Just throw it all away.
I don't think so. And then the other thing I was also thinking about was maybe because Jeanette was a little girl. However, Jeanette had a younger sister. The middle child was a girl as well. And Angela never laid a finger on her other daughter. Because in some cases, the parent is more violent towards one child because of their gender.
Yeah, that's true.
Or,
I've heard of that one too.
yeah, or the younger one. I've heard of cases of them being violent towards the younger one as well.
So she really just never said anything afterwards and it's just been tight-lipped and
She was
there's no
tight
real
lipped and
reason.
she never gave them a reason.
Damn.
We don't have answers as to why. Why, Jeanette, why did she take it to that level? Why did she have so much hate for this little girl? And she was mentally competent as well. It's not like she was insane. Well, I mean, you have to be in a level
We've
of
talked about this.
crazy to
All these
do
people
something
who've
like that.
done things, they all have some kind of mental issue.
Yes.
I really truly believe
I
that.
mean, yeah, this one is like you have to be a certain level of crazy to like harm your kid.
It's stupid to actually want a reason, but I actually do want to know why she chose her.
There's a lot of these where we've asked why and we don't know. We don't get an answer. I think the most popular one is with all you guys who enjoy. I say enjoy very loosely. I use that term very loosely, but always click on our videos when we talk about cannibalism. Like, why? Not you guys. Why are you clicking into that? But why do these people take it to that degree of feeding other humans body parts or consuming it yourself? I don't know. There's
Sharing is caring.
there's a lot of what ifs, but yes,
You
this
guys,
was
I made like the best brisket sandwich. I need you guys to try it too.
what?
For the cannibals.
Oh my goodness! Exclamation mark. But yes, this is the case of Angela Mcnaulty. I know that when we were talking about Cindy Bird's case at the end, we weren't even recording, but Amadi and I sat for a good hour still talking about like what drives certain females to commit murder on your child. For me, this is the Grin speaking. I find it not interesting, but there's more questions that I have when a female does it than when a male, because a female carries her baby with her and is supposed to form a connection, and there are some women who don't, and like this one, for example, like had no issue harming her child at all.
But there was no actual proof of when she started harming her, right?
Correct.
Because what happens if she was actually very loving, like an actual loving mother to Jeanette?
And something snapped.
Yeah.
But why? What could that have been? What happened? What led her to do that? That she reached a certain age? She herself was a very young little girl when the abuse started for her. And she had an elder sibling who was older when the abuse started happening too. So let us know in the comments if you have questions, because we certainly do, about this case. And if there is
I just want to know why she did it. It's not going to give me any pleasure, but I just want to know.
No.
Like, she'll finally say why she did it. I'll just sit there like, okay,
Okay,
just walk away.
you're
Well,
still a
at least I know.
bitch. Bye.
Yeah.
No, agreed. 100% agreed. But it's been years now. Actually, it's 2015, so it's been 14 years, and we still have no answers. So, will we get it maybe later on? Who knows?
Did you say this happened in 2015?
This happened in 2011. The retrial happened in 2015 when she
The
was
retrial.
changed from
Okay.
death to life imprisonment.
Okay, got it. Still a bitch. The end.
The end. And with that, remember to be well
Be safe.
and see you next time.
Bye.